Okay, great. Thank you everyone for joining me this afternoon for how to build your own $1 million network. This is a very, very important subject matter. I can't even stress the importance of it. And what I wanted to do, I started taking notes of what I wanted to share with you, and the list just kept getting longer and longer and longer because it is such a very important and powerful subject that has been very instrumental in my life and of course students' lives and people we've impacted. So I said, let me kind of whittle this down though, because I made this bold promise that I wanted to give you this formula or these keys or the important formula for building your own $1 million network. And I didn't want it to take forever. And there's so many things that we could cover. But I said, I'm just going to go straight to it and just give you the nuts and bolts of this formula of how I did it, how my students have done it, how I was taught to do it by my mentor, Dr. George C. Frazier, who is, it's not even arguably, I mean, he is definitely the father of the networking movement in Black America, starting with his best-selling book. He's written 6 books on the subject of networking, hosts the #1 conference in the world for Black professionals on networking with Power Networking Conference. But that very first book, that seminal work, Success Runs in Our Race, was all about this. And I didn't know, what I was doing when I first started, but clearly I was doing something right and it paid some dividends. But for me to connect with and be taught and trained by Dr. George C. Frazier has been something that, it's probably written in fairy tales, right? That you stumble upon something like this and this becomes a part of your life's work, but you not only embrace the work, but the person who kind of initiated this conversation is your mentor and teacher and best friend and confidant. So with that said, I'm going to dive right in because, again, I promised you 45 minutes. Again, just a double check, make sure that you can hear me. I did see this. Linda said all good. Roosevelt said all good. Joe said grand day. What I will do, I'm going to go through this, and at the end, I'll stay on a few more minutes if someone has some questions that they'd like me to answer. I'd be more than happy to do that. But what I do want to do is kind of give you all of this in as quick as time possible, but at the same time, not rushing and not leaving out something that I think is important. So I took some notes and put it on one page. So that's why I didn't want to share my screen with some PowerPoints, anything where technology can go wrong. And now we're stuck trying to complete this in a short period of time with all of these distracting slides. And I didn't want that. I figured that the people who are going to get on this quick webinar are going to be sitting with their beverage, their beverage of choice, their coffee, their tea, their water, their juice, their smoothie, probably, hopefully a pen and a pad. And if not, I'll give you just a minute or two to go grab a pen and a pad so that you can write down what I'm sharing. And hopefully that process of writing what I'm sharing with you will kind of ingrain it into your brain, and it becomes second nature into your subconscious, so that we don't have to worry about some slides that you're viewing and not really taking notes. So I'll leave some space for us to take some notes. Again, I won't be long, but I do want to cover as much as I can on this particular subject. And then what I'll do at the conclusion of this, I'll also just an opportunity for those who would like for me to kind of tutor or mentor or help you with your networking activities in 2022. I'll share with you how we can do that. And it is something that I haven't done. And so just by you being on here, you're the only ones that will get this. So I guess you can call this as a trial to see how people respond to this particular, I guess you could call it an offer. Yeah, it's an offer. So let's get into this. Again, the importance of networking cannot be understated, especially considering everything that we've gone through over the past almost 2 years now with COVID-19 and all of the variants. I think more and more people are beginning to understand the importance of a network, a community, especially if you're forced to be locked down, which with the new variant Omicron, it kind of looks like a lot of the same things that happened a year or a year and a half ago are beginning to happen again, where people are going to need to have a strong network or community. Of course, we talk about building your business with it, right? A $1 million empire, but even just the basic survival needs, you want to be able to have people that you can reach out to and connect with. So it's critically important. So what we want to do is cover kind of the business dynamic, but I don't want to understate the importance of having a solid network just in your everyday to-day life, how important that is to have the right people in your life. So with that said, most people want major success, but they have minor relationships. Want level 10 success with level 2 relationships. And it's just not possible. It's not feasible. I've tried it. I thought about it. When I started my business career, I didn't have these great relationships, and I worked hard and I studied and I got a whole lot of knowledge, but still the success that I was going to achieve was still marginal compared to the success that I've achieved since I've started building a network of powerful and impactful people. And so let me just go over quickly the benefits of networking. And again, I can only share a few things, right? Number one is shared knowledge. One of the beautiful parts about having a great network is that there can be an exchange of knowledge, information, and ideas that could take you to levels that you hadn't thought about. Your ideas are valid, but sometimes they can only be proven once they're into the marketplace, but then they can be enhanced and improved upon by having other people that you can share ideas with. And sometimes this goes into the mastermind concept that I'm such a big fan of as well, that when you have one mind and you have another mind, and these two minds come together, they create this third mind, this third thinking, these new ideas, this expansion of what you probably had a thought or an idea, but now it can be expanded. And it's because you have a network, other minds, other sharp people who can give you some nuanced things that you may not have thought about. That's one of the great benefits of a network. The other is opportunities. And I'm going to share my quick story real quick, but I wanted to go over these benefits, and you'll see my story play out in these benefits, is that the opportunities to expand or have partnerships or get funding are just, they're 10x when you have the right relationships. Most people are just opportunity seekers and not knowing how to effectively network. They're jumping around from opportunity to opportunity and opportunity. But if you have a solid network, there are opportunities that are birthed within the network. But again, if you have great people, they will refer opportunities to you, or in your absence, when an opportunity arises and they know exactly who you are and what you do, and they trust you, and all of those things that come with having an effective relationship, they're able to point you to the opportunity or bring the opportunity to you, and vice versa. If you have opportunities that may not fit your knowledge or expertise, you can quickly go through your Rolodex, your network, and then find people who these opportunities may be more beneficial for, and that can only enhance you. One of the challenges for us, especially as Black people, is that we don't see how giving other people opportunities or sharing opportunities with other people that the opportunity may fit better than ourselves, how that adds to us and doesn't take away from us. I'll go into that a little bit later. One of the others is, very quickly, impact and income. My income significantly grew once I started to expand my network and deal with the types of people who could help me into, let's just say, upper level opportunities, where all of the work and drudgery of trying to do things myself and worrying about the transaction instead of the relationship. I think I posted something recently, or I sent out an email. Hopefully all of you got that, where I talked about don't focus on the transaction, or don't be a transaction entrepreneur or business owner, be a relational entrepreneur or business owner, and you'll find that the pay is better in the relationship than in the transaction. There's so many benefits that come from that. I can't go through all of them now, recurring revenue, all of those different things. But just know that these 3 benefits are something that you should write down and know that these are at the top of the list as it relates to why you should begin to effectively network. Now, I'm from the east side of Detroit, born and raised, east side of Detroit, lower middle class family. And I never in my wildest dreams, and I've had a fortunate young career. I started in the entertainment industry, so I was blessed to be able to meet, quote unquote, star entertainers, be on stages with, the likes of a Jodeci or Ready for the World or Natalie Cole or Smokey Robinson, and a few others. I started into concert promotions. And so I've met a lot of famous people, worked with a lot of famous people in my youth, but it wasn't like they were a part of my network. So I knew people, but I never thought that I would be in partnerships with them or relationship with them where they would replace, I have some of my best friends. When I grew up, I would have, like Big Wayne and Ice and all of these type of people in my phone. And now I have the likes of George Frazier, Les Brown, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, Lisa Nichols in my phone. And so when those names pop up, it just adds a whole new dimension to what my life has turned into. And knowing that I can call and rely on them, and vice versa, they can call and rely on me. So let me just quickly share with you, some of you know the story of how I started Conversations with Black Millionaires, which was my breakthrough product. My very first interview for that product, that program, after getting online and learning about creating digital products, I had this idea to create these interviews, these conversations with Black millionaires. And Dr. George C. Frazier was my very first interview. And I called Dr. Frazier, or called down to his office in Cleveland, Ohio. And the young lady who answered the phone when I said that I wanted to interview Dr. Frazier for this this project, Conversations with Black Millionaires, she really crushed me. She's like, oh, I don't think he would want to do that. Maybe you should try back, and all of these different things. And so I did leave my number, and Dr. Frazier called back in around 5 to 10 minutes. I heard the airport noise in the background. He was just getting off of a plane. I guess he called into the office, and she said to him, that this knucklehead from Detroit called and wants to interview you. Do you want to do it? Or he probably said, well, what's his number? And he called me immediately. And I said, yes, Dr. Frazier, I do want to interview you. I can't do it this way. We had to create this. I had a bridge line, and he had to call in, and I called in, and then we did the interview. I don't want to go through the whole story, but I'm going to pull out some things from this story, because I didn't know that what I was doing right then was networking. I didn't know that. In my mind, I'm creating a product, right? I'm trying to do a product. I'm not knowing exactly if I'm doing it correctly, but now, years later, right now, I know that what I was doing is actually what I'm getting ready to share with you as the formula, but I stumbled into it, right? So I did that interview, completed that interview, did that same process with Les Brown, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, Kathy Hughes, Lisa Nichols, and so on and so on. So here it is, I'm networking with these individuals, but I didn't know that that's what I was doing. Again, in my mind, I'm creating a product, all right? So I did that. That product came out. that product went on to sell tens of thousands of downloads. If you don't know the story, please just go find one of the videos and you'll see the story, or maybe I can just share it with you at another time. Just email me and let me know you want to know all about how I did that process. But it sold tens of thousands of downloads. I was on all types of radio programs. XM satellite radio was huge then. So, I mean, I was on all of the satellite radio stations and just so many different things from that product. But again, I'm networking, but I didn't know it, right? So that became a circle of influence for me. So number one, so make sure you write this down. The first thing that you need to do is think about your circle of influence. I need you to write down your make it list. We call it a make it list. And then there's a break it list, right? There are people who are in your immediate circle right now, your circle of influence, that will not take you to the levels that you need to go. And they need to be listed up under the category or on the side of the page that says break it, right? That these are people who are just like friends that are maintained, or relationships where you're just maintaining the relationships, but they're not necessarily taking you to the levels that you want to get to. And then I want you to put what we call the make it list side, right? These are people who are already, and I'm speaking of people who are probably currently in your life, or at least people who are you're thinking about. That's really the whole purpose of writing down a list, because if you don't have people who are causing you to grow, who are causing you to go to the next level, that means we have to become a little bit more intentional. And I'll talk about that in just 1 second. But I just want you to know that you need to have this list first. You need to take the time to sit down and say, who's in my life? Who goes on the make it side? Who goes on the break it side? You've probably heard all of the statistics. You've heard all of the quotes. You know, if there's 5 people, you know, that are millionaires, you'll be the 6th. If you hang around, you know, 5 broke people, you'll be the 6th. Even studies show that if you have obese friends, the percentages are raised that you'll end up being obese or unhealthy if you have these friends in your circle. So the circle of influence, people who influence you, is critically important. So that's number one. That's the first thing that we have to do in this formula, is take the time to sit back, write down this list, this circle of influence. But again, I want you to separate it, make it and break it. I said I could think of some probably better poetic language, but we only got a few minutes. And I said, I just want to kind of give it to you straight. So these are the people going to help you. They're going to make it, or they're going to break you. All right. So then I want you to do that. And then once you kind of have this list, you're going to have to start thinking about who needs to come off the list and then who you need to add to the list, right? This becomes your circle of influence, right? And let me tell you, one of the first things that I did, and I don't want to kind of jump all around, but one of the things I've noticed that just happened to me today, so that's why it's on the top of my mind. Someone was reaching out to me and they were asking for my time. This is one of the big mistakes. I'm just going to give you 2 mistakes. In my community, Dr. Frazier and I did a training on the biggest mistakes that you can make when networking. Dr. Frazier lists 7 of them. That's in my community. If you haven't seen it, send me an email and we'll see if we can get that over to you. So I don't want to go through all of the mistakes you can make when networking, but I do want to list 2 because these were top of mind that just happened to me. The worst thing that you can do when you're initially networking, especially when you're reaching up to people, is to ask for their time. People who are successful, people who are building businesses or organizations or operations who could be impactful and influential in your life, they're very busy. So you don't want to ask for their time cold, right? Just out of the clear blue sky. They don't know you and you're asking for time. Big mistake. You'll never get a response from her, or you definitely won't get the response that you want. But then 9 times out of 10, you've already started damaging that relationship becoming a fruitful relationship. They may deal with you, but chances of that relationship becoming a very fruitful relationship is already damaged because you came in with an ask. And then you ask for what most of us know And most of you know, that's why I want to be on time with this. Most of you already know your time is valuable. And the last thing that someone can do is waste your time or take your time when you don't even know what it is that they're trying to get over to you, right? So don't do that. So that's enough. That's one mistake. The other mistake is asking for money. Just because someone is successful and a millionaire or whatever the case may be, doesn't give you the license to ask them for money for whatever project you have, funding or anything like that. Money comes after the relationship. It doesn't come before they even know you. And again, if you go to influential people, wanting them to be a part of your circle of influence, the last thing you want to do is present yourself as a charity case. Even if you have a nonprofit organization, that's not the first thing. That's why these are mistakes. I'm not saying that these don't take place in the relationship, but they should not be first. So these are just two of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're beginning to take that first step towards networking with influential people, right? So make sure we don't make those mistakes. I don't want to give you the full list. Again, I have a video for you for that. If you want that, just let me know, email me. The most important thing you can do after you have your make it or break it list, and especially during this time period, you need to have clear goals. Just yesterday, oh no, this has been a couple of days now, in my Masters of Business Networking Mastermind, I introduced a thinking exercise on the first 100 days, what you want to do for your first 100 days of the new year. And so we have that, and I have people thinking about, what are my goals? What do I want to do in those first 100 days? And being very clear on that, so that now you could begin to take the steps, begin to meet or connect with the people that could help you accomplish those goals and those objectives. So I'm asking you to make sure that you write down your goals for the next 12 months, because your goals are going to dictate who you need to have in your life to make those goals come true, right? Those goals can only be realized by working with and through the people who can help you, right? I know some of us are still stuck on, if I just work hard, if I just know a little bit more. From this day forward, I want you to use this philosophy because this really is the root of a lot of procrastination, is that when people have goals and objectives and then you start procrastinating on them, it's because you probably don't have the necessary skill set or resources to begin to bring those goals to fruition. And so from this day forward, and it takes some mental adjusting to do, you want to start saying, when you have goals, objectives, things that need to be accomplished, instead of you learning or having to go into a long learning curve or developing a skill, you want to start, who can do this? Who can I connect with? Who can I even pay to help me get to this goal fast or achieve this accomplishment faster? So the question is not who, the question is who, it's not how. I don't want you to begin to ask, how do I do this, Brother Bedford? It's who. So now you start training your mind to think about the relationships automatically. It's just by default right now. When I have something that I need to do, something major, I don't even think about how am I going to do this anymore. Now it's who do I know? Who in my network or in my Rolodex can I reach out to that could make that happen? Whether it's an introduction or a skill, technology, podcast, you name, website, graphic, whatever it is. I never think about how do I need to do this. I think about who. So think about who can help you with your goals for 2022, right? It's going to take some time to do this. So I'm just giving you the formula. And then of course I want you to go and work it out. And of course I want you to give me your feedback. So first, make the list out, make it or break it. Start thinking about who you need to start spending less time with, who's influencing you, and then think about who's helping you to grow, right? Who's helping to take you to the next level. And then this automatically starts you to think about, well, who's going to take me to the next level, right? And that's going to be relying upon your goals. So I'm hoping you see how this begins to come together. So now it's about your goals. So you have goals and objectives. Now you start thinking about, who do I need to add to help me to take my life or my business to the next level? And then that's where we get into the real core of this formula. And there's two things that I want you to make sure that we focus on here. When we start talking about the who, now we have to be very intentional Be very intentional about who you want to network with, who you need to be in relationship with. So many times, a lot of us do random, what's called random networking, right? We just want to go and hand out business cards, and we meet a lot of people. And some of you probably have business cards or phone numbers and all types of things of people that you probably would say, this is my network, or I know these people. However, if you really dig deep enough, you haven't thought through, can this person help me with my goals and objectives? Or am I just randomly out here just meeting people, hoping that something happens, right? That, maybe we're gonna get a major breakthrough. And I guess that's okay if that's what a person is comfortable with, but that doesn't get you to your goals quickly. That doesn't get you to your goals with impact, because random relationships tend to kind of just drift, and it takes longer to meet these goals and objectives that we're talking about. So I want you to be very intentional, meaning that the people that you're going to network with, clearly now, if you have goals, these people are going to have some similarities with you. They're probably on similar paths or similar tracks to achieve similar goals. And of course, hopefully these people are above you, right? These are people who've achieved what you want to achieve, but you kind of know that they're on a similar trajectory or path as you, and now you want to be intentional about them. Now I go back to my story again. When I said I wanted to interview successful Black millionaires, my list, first on my list was Dr. George C. Frazier. I was very intentional about who I wanted to interview. Why? Because he was in this space. My very first site was howtobeablackentrepreneur.com. So I was teaching Black people how to become better entrepreneurs. In that case, at that time, I was doing a lot of real estate, but then I started getting into the online space. Then people were asking me questions, but then I said, you know what? Wouldn't it be nice that people could hear from Black millionaires who are in this same vein, who are teaching this, who are doing this, who are living this? So my very first interview, the first person on my list was Dr. George C. Frazier. The next person on my list was Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. Why? Because he wrote the book, Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice. He co-authored that book with Napoleon Hill. And then he also wrote another book called What Makes the Great Great. So these were books that were targeting the African-American or the Black community to help them with personal growth and development and entrepreneurial success. So I was deliberately intentional going after them. Who was the world's #1 motivational speaker speaking that Black people knew? It was Les Brown, right? So I was very intentional about who I wanted to interview. Kathy Hughes. I could go on and on and on, but my list was very intentional. So I want you, once you put that, let's say that that's #1. So I'm gonna give you 2 powerful things that I want you to incorporate, or 2 powerful things that should be a part of your networking formula. #1 is be intentional. Under that, I need you to list the 10 people with similarities. Some people would call this your dream list of who you want to connect and be in relationship with. 10. I was going to ask you to do 20, but let's do 10. I gave you about 5 or 6 of mine. I could go on. It was Dr. Randall Pinkett. He had told Trump to go to hell on The Apprentice. I said, I got to interview him, right? So I had a list of people who I wanted to go after. Who is your 10? Who is your 10? And make sure you study. Now you have to study them. Now you have to do the research to make sure that you know what it is that they're doing, that you can begin to align yourself with. Why? Because now you don't want to make those mistakes that I talk about, right? You don't want to just randomly ask them for time without knowing what it is that they're doing. If they're busy building something, they're on some type of program or doing something, and now you're trying to take them away from that, automatically they're going to give you a no. They don't have time for you, right? They got to take that time and put it into what they're focusing on. So now if you're studying and you know the similarities of what it is that they're doing, and hopefully you understand that that lines up with what you want to do, now you best know how to address them. Again, I did it. I just stumbled into this stuff with Dr. Frazier. I had no idea that what I was doing, and I'm getting ready to get into the, first, let me do this. I'll come to that part. 10 people. Then after that, I want you to list and research the 5 podcasts that you could possibly be a guest on or connect with the host and producer and provide your expertise or your connections or whatever the case may be. Your 5 dream podcasts that you would like to be a guest on, that you would like to have a relationship with. Back when I started, it was the radio stations. I wanted to get on the Warren Ballantine show, and I wanted to do the Tom Joyner show. Once we did the interviews and we put out the press releases, what ended up happening? Those were the 2 shows. One show led to the other, the press release, and then I started doing all of these local shows from NBC affiliates everywhere. People wanted to know, well, what did these Black millionaires tell you and all of this type of stuff. But I was intentional about the shows. There was a program, several Black finance programs on XM satellite radio. So we had already started making relationships with them and sent press releases to them. So I already had the 5 at that time. Again, it was radio shows. Today, I'm telling you, it's podcasting, right? You don't have to think about large radio programs unless you're thinking about Steve Harvey and Breakfast Club or stuff like that. But right now, there are literally thousands of podcasts that kind of target the arena or the area that you are in or that you want to get into. So you need to write them down. So again, your 10 people, 5 podcasts, 5 publications or blogs that, again, that you want to connect with, that you want to develop relationships with. I have several relationships with blogs and podcasts or people that run blogs and podcasts or publications that I can reach out to, or I'm in their magazine or I'm on their show. I've developed these relationships. You have to be very intentional about that. And then the last thing, who are the 5 experts that you want to connect with? Someone who's done something. Now, this could probably be an overlapping list, right? From your 10 people, maybe, some of them are experts that you want to connect. In my case, it was, right? It was George Frazier, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. They're obviously experts in addition to being icons in this space, but I was very intentional. So if yours overlaps, that's fine. But if not, think of the 5 experts who are doing what it is you want to do, or they have an expertise that you're trying to become an expert or an authority on. And so now you want to connect with them and learn from them, let them mentor you, let them guide you, shorten your learning curve. So number 1, be intentional. The second part of this formula, and this is where a lot of people get this wrong. I already mentioned to you that most people go first and they're asking. They're putting themselves in this, I guess I can use this terminology, a begging position. And all you got to do is think about yourself. You don't want anybody coming to you, taking your time, begging you for money, or taking your time, and they haven't done this thing first, which is add value. So the second thing, the second part of this formula is add value first. Before you ask for anything, add value first. Well, how do I know what to give, Brother Bedford? I just told you, you're intentional and you're studying what is it that you can do to add value to what they're doing. I'm going to give you a few, 4, maybe, I'm going to give you 5 things that you can do to add value that maybe you haven't thought about when you think about, well, how can I add value to, I'm just going to say a millionaire, but just anybody of importance or an influence or somebody that I'm trying to connect with. How can I add value to them, Brother Bedford? One of the things you can do is, if you have contacts and you know that a person A is doing something, you study them, they're doing something, and it appears that they may need some help or assistance in something, and you can't do it, but you know someone, maybe you can, hey, Dr. Frazier, I noticed that you're trying to do this Clubhouse thing. I'm not necessarily on Clubhouse, but I know this guy and he's doing Clubhouse and he's doing this. You mind if I introduce you to him? Boom, a connection, a contact. That's a way that you can add value. Number two, your own expertise or knowledge, right? So if you are an expert or authority, which all of us know something, if you've been living any length of time, you know something, you have knowledge and expertise about something, hopefully in the area that you're going into. I don't want to drift into another talk about your unique talent, skills, and gifts. We'll save that for another time, but I'm a big advocate of us discovering that, because that's where all of your superpower and your strengths lie. And then now if you take that, your superpower, your talents, your gifts, your knowledge, your expertise, and now you can add value to the people that you're trying to connect with. Now that just takes you to a whole nother level, right? So that's another way that you can add value. Another way that you can add value is that you're introducing these people to a new audience. I want you to think about these three things that I just shared with you is actually what I did with Dr. Frazier. And again, like I said, I didn't know it. I'm thinking I'm creating a product. I'd like to interview you, Dr. Frazier. Sure, let's do it. Now, in my mind, I'm getting the interview, right? I'm creating this Conversations with Black Millionaires product. But think about this from Dr. Frazier's perspective. I'm introducing Dr. Frazier to a whole new audience. I'm taking his message, his books, his conference, and now I'm sharing it with my new audience, my podcast listeners. Again, I wasn't thinking like this, but this is what he was thinking. So I was adding value. So for sometimes people ask, well, how did you get them to do that? I didn't realize at the time that I was adding value. I was creating content with them that was theirs to use at their leisure, however they wanted to use it. But then I was also sharing them with my audience and new audiences that would hear these conversations with Black millionaires. And from that, I can't even begin to tell you how many people have registered for the Power Networking Conference through me. So literally by Dr. Frazier giving me that interview, literally hundreds of thousands of dollars have gone to the Power Networking Conference and in his coffers, and then more relationships. Some people have just flat out just said, Brother Bedford, I never heard of Dr. Frazier until you interviewed him, right? They didn't know. Same thing with Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. They didn't know. Now, some of the names are more familiar that they know, but again, the same thing. I was introducing Les Brown to a new audience. I was helping him sell more books, get booked for more speeches. So I was adding value first. Now I do it consciously, but at that time, I didn't know exactly what I was doing, and I did it. Number four, and this is a real easy one, is you can give testimonials and review books of authorities and experts, right? You can literally buy someone's book, read it, give them a testimonial, and then when you contact them via social media or via email, hey, Dr. Frazier, and I'm just using Dr. Frazier's name because it's just quick right now, and that's somebody that I do this stuff with. I read your book, click. I just left a testimonial and a review on Amazon. Let me know if you need anything else. What do you think he's thinking? He's like, man, he bought the book. Thank you. He bought the book. He left a review, right? And gave me a video. Sometimes I've done video testimonials for people and they never knew. Hey, Markwell Russell is a great guy, one of my chief former students, but now he's crushing. He's gone above and beyond me. I give that to him. Now he shares that. So now every time I need Markwell or Dr. Frazier or anyone else, whatever you need, Brother Bedford, because I gave value first. I provided an endorsement, a testimonial, or I reviewed their books. And I can also tell you this, a lot of authority and experts, they hate when you ask questions or want to, people say, can I just pick your brain for a few minutes? One, they hate that. But if you ask a question that's already in the book or already in the video and audio, mentors hate that, because now the reason they create the content, and even yourself, I'm speaking your future, because when you begin to create these, then the last thing you're going to want is for someone to keep asking you questions on things that you've created a book or an audio or a worksheet or a report or something about, when they can just go and get it, right? That's insulting to say, I want to network with you. I want you to mentor me, but I've never read your book, right? So this kind of serves a dual purpose. They can mentor you without ever meeting them first by buying the book, the audio, investing in a program. I've invested in coaching programs or masterminds where I've been present in the room, learn from the person, and then the relationship blossoms from there. So I'll never be afraid to invest in the relationship first through mentoring or coaching. It's a great way to get on someone's radar. It may seem, a little painful at first. You may have to pay, but it's a great way to add value first and show that you're serious and that you're willing to go through the process of getting in closer proximity to them. And then the last tip on adding value, number 5, is knowing how to reduce their pain and suffering. If you can reduce the pain and suffering of someone that you're trying to connect with, you become their new best friend. I shared the story about Dr. Frazier. Not only did we do the interview, right? What was the follow-up thing that I did with Dr. Frazier? I created an affiliate program for the Power Networking Conference. The Power Networking Conference had never taken online registrations before I showed up. So this was a pain for George and the Power Networking Conference. This was a knowledge that they didn't have. This was a capability that they didn't have. And then I come and I offer this capability, and it reduced so much stress. It helped them the Power Networking Conference has been selling out every year. Their registrations that first year when I started helping out increased over 400%. So what do you think was a natural response? So after I interviewed Dr. Frazier, adding value, sharing his message, sharing his books, did all of that, helped with the Power Networking Conference. What do you think happened after that? The following year, I received a letter, and this is when you still got the letter in the mail from Dr. Frazier inviting me to present at the Power Networking Conference. And that year, I don't have the picture of it. I wish I got to find the picture. That year, I'm sitting in the middle, we're at a round table, and it's me, Les Brown, Michael V. Roberts, George Frazier, his partner at that time, who's now deceased, Susan Taylor. So I'm in the midst of all of these people now from this one relationship. And it's because I served, I added value first. I'm looking at the clock. Okay, we got a few more minutes, and then we'll open up for some questions. So let me just do a quick summary. Real quick. Take a sip of my tea real quick. And then I'll open up for some questions. If you have to go, I fully understand. Again, I didn't want to turn this into a long, drawn out meeting or anything like that, but I'll stay on and answer any questions after we conclude. But here's the summary. So I want you to pay attention to your circle of influence. If you've never done it before, now's the time to sit down and make your list. For the lack of a better term, I told you, I call it a make it or break it list, right? It's the people who are going to help make you, or it's the people who are going to help break you. And you have to just be honest with yourself. You have to tell the truth of the relationships that you're in now. Who's going to help you grow and go to the next level, and who's not. And here's the thing, those who are not, I'm not saying, I'm not a fan of kick them to the curb and all of that type of stuff. Don't speak to them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you just got to know where the position of these people in your life should be, right? And you have to start spending more time with the people who are going to help you grow, instead of the people who are just going to help you to maintain the status quo, right? If you want to grow, go to the next level. If you want to meet powerful people, influential people, moneyed people, right? You want to experience new ideas, bigger ideas, brighter ideas. You want to share that type of world. That means you got to start getting around those people. So first thing, you got to take inventory of who you already have in your circle that has at least the potential to ride with you. If not, you got to make sure that they're not. Then the next thing, you have to set a goal. You have to start setting very concrete goals. I would say 12 months. I normally, when I'm consulting with clients, I ask them, What do you want your life or business to look like 3 years from now, right? And then we start working back. We got to create that crystal clear picture. Then we work back. I'm not asking you for 3 years. I'm asking you to just do it for the next 12 months. For 2022, what are the goals? And only think of 5. Don't overwhelm yourself with a bunch of things. Think of 5 needle-moving, life-changing goals that you have that you want to accomplish in 2022, even in the midst of a pandemic. You got to be very specific, because now you got to ask the question, well, who can really help me in a pandemic? Who can help me in a virtual space where I may need to start taking a lot of my ideas and business online? Who can help me with that? Very intentional. Now, once you have those goals, you got your circle of influence, make it or break it list. Now you have the goal. Now you get very intentional about who you need to go after. Now you really start making that list, your dream list. And I'm telling you to dream big. I mean, I went after the biggest of the big. I still got a call out for Tyler Perry right now. So if Tyler Perry called me right now, while I'm on here with you, I'll tell you all, hey, I gotta go get this interview with Tyler Perry, because I've reached out to my dream list. So I don't want you to minimize the people that you can begin to connect. Remember, this is a $1 million network. And if you want to get to a $1 million network, that means you have to start dealing with people who are dealing in those types of numbers. In fact, I once heard a quote saying, if you want to become, you want to make 6 figures, you got to start hanging with millionaires. You want to make $1 million, you need to start hanging with people who are multimillionaires. Because it's just different thinking, different conversations, different actions, different behaviors at each level. So if you haven't cracked those income goals, then you got to ask yourself, if I want to get to 6 figures, you can't hang around with a bunch. Now you can hang, you can relate, but your conversations, your network can't be based off of people making just less than 50,000 a year, and you're hoping that you get to 6 figures. That means you got to start finding people who are making 6 figures. The conversation is just a little different. The behaviors are a little different. The habits are a little different. The ideas, just one idea can shift you from an income level that you're probably stuck at, and just one idea can take you into a different level, but you can't get that idea from people who don't have that experience. So be very intentional. Make sure you pick the 10 people that you have similarities with. So again, I chose Black millionaires, people in entrepreneurship and business. That's what I do. Whatever field of endeavor that you're in, if you're into healthcare, psychology, science, it doesn't matter the industry, there are the cream de la cream of that group, that industry, that category, they're there and they're waiting. In fact, I would tell you, the less, I don't even know if this is a word, celebritized, somebody will let me know if that's a word, the less celebritized the industry, right? Meaning that you need celebrity status to make it in there, the better. Because there are people who are making, and I'm sure you already know this, so I'm probably just preaching to the choir. There are people who are at the top of their game, making millions of dollars, who are experts and authorities in every field, who write for every publication, but yet by not being in a glamorous category, such as entertainment or things like that, they don't get the call. Now imagine you, let's just say you're into holistic health. There are 10 people who are at the top of their game in that space, that if you reached out to them, if you started to build relationships with them, you can begin to move the needle in your own life and career. And they're probably just sitting at home right now in front of their computers, and nobody showed them or talked to them or reached out to them to add value to their lives, to buy their book, to review their book, to solve a problem that they have. And you do it, you become the best thing since sliced bread in their life. This is important. So make sure you're very intentional. List those 10 people. And you can't neglect the media. So many people neglect marketing and getting their message out. That's why I said you have to have those 5 podcasts. If you have a business already, and you know that the next level for you is relationships, but you also know that you don't quite know or have your marketing chops together. That means you have to get on some podcasts. You have to learn how to create engaging and compelling content. That's what these next two things were for, right? The publications, the podcast, because now you have to begin to refine your message and connect with people who can multiply and amplify your message. And that's how your product or your service or your business begins to grow. It never amazes me. I get calls every day of people who are just not doing anything like this, and they're expecting sales to just come, I guess, fall out of the sky. They're expecting a relationship to fall out of the sky. They just have no activity, and these things are not hard, especially some of the things that I'm telling you to do. I mentioned the 5 podcasts, the publications, and the experts. And again, those, your dream list that can sometimes overlap. But maybe there are experts in your category that you need help with. Again, I talk about website, all of that type. There are experts in these fields of endeavor that may not be your dream list that you still need to build a relationship with. Why? Because again, as you're building your life and your business, and you know that you need to go to the next level, it's quicker to say who, not how. So now you need these individuals to help you. Someone, let me see. I'll come back to I see a couple of chats come up, and then I'll answer them in just 1 second. The next thing is add value. I've already listed those things, so I won't go through them again, but share your contacts, your knowledge, your wisdom, solve a problem. Boy, if you relieve some stress, some anxiety in their life. I gave you my own example with Dr. I've done that with Dr. Kimbrough. Again, I've done it with so many. I study and find out what is it that they need that I can possibly help with. Do I know someone, or can I relieve that stress or that pressure myself, or do I need to connect them with someone? And I've done it so many times, and it's just been reciprocal with what it is that they would do for me. So that's a huge thing. And then the last thing that I would ask you to do is join a network, a networking group. If you want the shortcut to connect with people who are already doing what it is that you want to do, or have resources or relationships that you don't have, you want to connect with them. You want to join that group and begin this process. And again, you have to be patient with yourself. This stuff takes time, right? So you have to begin to join a networking group and begin to establish these relationships and all of the nuances that come with building these effective relationships. So of course, I have the Masters of Business. That's my network and mastermind community. If you want my tutelage, my help, my assistance to kind of help guide you through this, and then to connect with my network, right? We got George coming in teaching. We got Dr. Kimbrough coming in. I can go on, Ty Cohen, Ron Douglas, they're all coming in 2022 to teach my network all of the different things that can help them in their life, their business, their careers. And so for you only, if you like, just email me at brobedford@brobedford.com, and I'll give you a 14-day free trial into the Masters of Business Network. So you can try it out, come in, study all my stuff, ask me some questions, participate in our monthly mastermind or our Wednesday, every Thursday office hours, and see if this is going to help you with your life and business. And then if you want to stay, stay. And if not, you can leave. And here's the other thing, I kick people out, right? One of the things about networking and mastermind, you got to have the right people in your group. So I would advise, make sure, that's why I don't want any of you randomly networking with people. Find the group that helps you grow. Find the people that helps you grow. Find the people that you want to develop relationships with that improves your income and improves your impact. And I know I've kind of rushed through this, but we've definitely hit the 45-minute mark. So email me at brobedford@brobedford.com. Just let me know that you want the 14-day free trial into my networking mastermind, and I'll send you a link so that you can sign up, and then we'll take it from there. I mean, you can come in, and if you like it, again, stay. And if I can help you throughout the year to build your network and your mastermind, or help you with your online virtual presentations or whatever, that's what the group does. That's what I'm in there for. That's why I spend all of my time. Bro Bedford, that's BROBEDFORD @brobedford.com. Many of you should already know that if you've received an email from me, but definitely make sure that you want the 14-day free trial. Nobody else, if you go to the page, nobody's getting that. I'm offering that to you because you took the time to be on with me today. And so with that said, I'm going to, for the next, I guess, 10 minutes, I'll answer some questions. If you have questions, you can either just type it in the Q&A, and then I'll go over. Let me read the great information and knowledge sharing. I have pages of notes. Thank you, Brother Bedford. Thank you. That's Joe Cooper. Unfortunately, I had to step away for about 15 minutes in the middle of the webinar. Will we receive the recording? Yes, I'll send you, and I think you automatically get it, but if not, make sure you email me, then I'll make sure that you get the recording, okay? Are there any other questions? You see that if you see the Q&A right there, you can just type your question in there, or you can put it in the chat if you want everyone to read it. I'll stay on for 10 more minutes. I want to thank you all. I know it's the middle of the day, and I'm trying this piece here with the 14-day free trial. Again, I just wanted to do that with you all. I'm thinking of making it like, my Kwanzaa gift to people to kind of test out the mob, and again, come in and talk to George, and just all of the different people, that type of exposure that I want to give to you. Let me see. I know some of you have to leave. Again, just someone said, email is brobedford@brobedford.com. Okay, thank you for sharing your time and your knowledge. Great info. My pleasure. And it is so much, but again, I want to keep this. What level do you need to be in business to participate? No, the Masters of Business, great question. I'm introducing other levels. The very first level that I have is called my foundation level. It's not really technically a name, but everyone in there is ranging from 0 to 500,000. We have a couple people who have cracked $1 million businesses, right? I have a lot of $1 million presenters who come in, a few $1 million people who are in the network, but who really engage every day are people who are trying to have those major breakthroughs into the 6 figures, multiple 6 figures. And then I'll be honest with you, once it gets to about, I have enough people and I want to do the next level, it will be $1 million, but that'll be a different level. And the reason being, as I mentioned earlier, the conversations are just different. It's a lot of the same content. You'll be surprised at the same content that you need to master to build your business at the very beginning. It's the same content and strategies and some tactics that you need when you're cracking multiple 6 figures and even cracking 7 figures, but the conversations change, the problems changed. So I don't apply the same technology to a different issue that I'm having in a 7-figure business. So I hope that answers, but there isn't a specific level for this, except here's the requirements though. Here's the qualifier. You have to be a giver, right? We want people coming in, sharing their experience, answering questions. That's what a network and a mastermind is all about. It's not one-way learning. It's peer-to-peer learning. It's support group. Of course, I come in and share. I have the other millionaires and thought leaders coming in to share. But even after that, we want to have discussion and conversation about what was shared. What are the challenges that we're facing and how can we help each other? Do we have resources? That's a true network. It's not a one-way thing. So that's a great question, D. But so the qualifications is that you want to share and participate that way, right? So I hope that answers. Are there any other questions? Let me see. Thought I saw another chat come up. Give me 1 second. I'm bouncing around. Trying to make sure I read everything. Thank you for sharing. Okay, I read that already. Okay, I read that already. Okay, good. Any more questions? Just type it into the Q&A. If not, look here, we're right at an hour. This is perfect. I know I was talking fast. I hope this was helpful. Again, if you want the 14-day free trial, just email me at brobedford@brobedford.com. Let me know that you want the free trial and I'll send you a special link. Nobody else has this link. So I just want you to know that this is just for you. Okay. You're welcome, D. I hope this was helpful for you. And I think that's it. I don't see any more. I'm gonna do it one more time just to make sure I'm not missing any questions. Great. Uh-oh, wait a minute. I think I've seen some pop up. Okay, no, I've already answered that. All right, great. So thank you all for spending this hour with me now. Again, even if you have questions after this, I don't mind asking, just shoot me a quick email and I'll answer the questions. This is what I do. This is what I love to do. So I won't be, cussing you out if you email me with a question later. But if you had a question now or later, don't hesitate to reach out to your brother. This is what I do. We're going to see how this works out. If you like this, let me know. And then maybe we'll do some quick 45 minutes on a bunch of other topics that I think could help you. We talked about marketing, networking today, marketing. We got so many different things, lead generation, masterminding. You let me know, and maybe we can do some quick pop-ups for you, okay? Linda already said, yes, do some more. All right, Linda, so we'll start scheduling some more. Let me know the topics that you want. I already got experts coming in, so whatever you need, if I can't answer or help you, that's why I got all of my, I guess you would call them my super friends, my Avengers. I got my Avengers team that I hope to bring to you. So thank you so much. And I look forward to speaking to you all again real soon. Take care, everybody.